What is up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to Crunch Time. 40 minutes nonstop. NBA DFS conversation starts right now, taking you up to lock. Two-gamer, just a baby slate. Just got an appetizer for tomorrow night. I think tomorrow's 12 games. 12 games tomorrow. We've had a lot of small slates with the Cup. Shout out to New York. Producer Steve's Nick, so excited about winning the Cup. They refused to raise a banner. I'm not really sure why that is, but they chose no banner in New York, but they did. They seemed a little excited winning the Cup there in Vegas. So shout out to producer Steve's Knicks. I was wrong. I bet the Spurs, and bad job by me. But all right, tonight it's a two-gamer. As far as body parts, who's in and who's out, we basically have all the information. We'll talk about that in just a second. It's Kyle and Christy. Christy, I feel like it's been a long time since the two of us have done a show. So thrilled to be on here with you. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Just a two-gamer. We'll try to knock this out. Take you guys all up to lock. Any questions you have, by all means, fire them off in chat. Save those for now because we're going to go position by position. But yeah, Christy, how are things? Welcome to Wednesday night, two-game show.
Yeah, exactly. I know, very, very small game slate, but yeah, I know it has been a while. Good to see both you and Kyle. And yeah, I know every once in a while you can find some gems here on these two-game slates, even though kind of interesting just with some of the guys that are out and things like that. So I think there's still some places to get a little different. So it'll be great to break it down with you guys.
Yeah, if you're watching that, looking forward to, you bought tickets in the preseason for Minnesota and Memphis. You're looking forward to Ants versus Ja. You're not getting either. You are going to get the season premiere, most likely, of Brandon Clark. So get excited about that. He's been cleared to play at least. Zach Edey, of course, still out for Memphis. Ja officially ruled out. Minnesota, we do have Ant was ruled out. Otherwise, they're pretty healthy. Well, Mike Conley's been out for a bit. No Mike Conley tonight. Chicago, Ayo Dosunmu ruled out, thinning out their guards just a little bit. And as far as Cleveland, of course, Evan Mobley not available tonight. Max Strus hasn't played a second all season long. Sam Merrill still out. We did get their starting lineup. It is Garland, Mitchell, Tyson, Wade, Allen. So Hunter coming off the bench there for Cleveland. Do we have anybody else's lineups? Let's see. No, that's it for now. Memphis down to 10. Again, 10 including Clark, who's officially available. Not a lot of bodies there for the Grizz. Big-time dogs. Well, 7.5-point dogs versus Minnesota because, again, Ant is out. Kyle, welcome to Wednesday night. I saw you before the show firing off a bunch of scores and odd stuff, so I guess you've been in the weeds. Was that basketball related? Was that for tonight's slate? What are we talking about? I haven't had a chance to look at it. I just got the notifications that you're firing off some bets. What were you digging into pre-show?
Yeah, I got a little bit of both. Mostly NBA, but a couple NFL plays in there as well early on the week. And there's a Thursday night game play. But yeah, I figured on the small slate, I would really dive into some of these teams here and see if there's any weird angles in the prop market. And I ended up finding a couple of long shots and nothing really like. It's more so just like looking for like the lottery type plays here. I got a couple of really long shots in scores and odds. So hopefully we can come through for one of those. That'd be nice.
Starting the day, we really did not have a ton of value. Now it's starting to open up a little bit. Guys like Bones Highland should get some run. Vince Williams for Memphis. I guess, Kyle, he's their best option at point guard, or he's going to be their de facto point guard because who else will play point? And we're expecting probably 30 minutes there out of Williams because, again, Ja not being available and Pippen's not being available. And who else? Who else did it? Ty Jerome?
The GOAT, Cam Spencer.
Yeah, both Spencers. I think something happened with the Spencers. I don't know. Both Spencers are out for personal reasons, so hopefully wish them the best, but not sure what's going on there. So that really stand out Memphis tonight. You want to give me an overview because we are getting some value plays tonight. Earlier in the day, if you were running like optimals, it was really ugly as far as the lineups I was getting at least, and some of the players that the lineup HQ was telling me I should consider playing. It's a little better now. But yeah, overview as far as the slate two-gamer, and it's a sprint, right? They're playing at the exact same time. That's pretty fun. It's gonna be over in 2.5 hours. Screenshot, how are you seeing things?
Yeah, I mean, from an injury standpoint, I think you broke it down. Pretty much all the names were mentioned there. I think from a game theory perspective on these small slates, like we've done a couple of 3 or 4 game slates, and on a 2-game slate, you can essentially make a case for doing anything in the sake of just being different and unique in tournaments. So that opens up a couple of different, ways to play the slate. But, I think it makes it more fun to talk about almost in some instances because you don't have to necessarily, look at who's projecting best. Because in the NBA, obviously projections kind of can rule the landscape there. So it makes it somewhat interesting for some of these, longer odd tournament type dart plays. So I think that's going to be fun to talk about.
Chris, do you have any general strategy or overall thoughts as far as the slate? Again, it's just a 2-gamer, so yeah, you can be more ambitious. You can be more goofy. You got to beat less players. And I'm just curious, how many are you running? 20? You're running one lineup? A little trickier, of course, when you're on the show. I'm not sure if you can multitask. I'm not great at it, so maybe pulling back just a little bit as far as the lineups. What do we have tonight? What are we playing?
Yeah, I'm kind of doing the same, doing more single entry tonight, just building a couple different lineups, just knowing it's going to be on the show and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think on shows like this, where I've had some success in the past too, is like, you run the optimals, and like some of the ones that I ran right before the show was bringing up no bowls on some of the optimals, at least on FanDuel over there. So I think, it's an opportunity to get guys like Giddy and Kobe White and things like that I think are going to get you naturally different, because all these Timberwolves and Cleveland and Memphis guys that are really flooding the lineups.
Yeah, earlier in the day, I was thinking about, and like with the 2-game slate, trying to hope one game kind of blows out, hope one game stays close, and if you're lucky, you fall into some overtime. So I was going to concentrate on Chicago and Cleveland, but things kind of opened up, and I'm getting away from that a little bit. But yeah, is there one game you like more than the other as far as like a game stack? Of course, you got to get at least one piece from the other game, but is there one game you prefer? Memphis at Minnesota, 227.5 is the total. Memphis is what, a 7.5 point dog here. Cleveland in Chicago, really good pace here, 241.5. The total speaks to that. They're 5-point favorites. Is there one game you prefer over the other, Christy?
I think I'm finding myself with more on the Memphis, Minnesota side, just with Ant being out. I think there's some good value options in there. And I think there's some ways to get different too, because I think, you look at guys like Julius Randle, McDaniels, and then you've got Highland and DiVincenzo in there. But I think, Gobert is probably going to go a little bit overlooked, because you have some decisions to make, especially over on FanDuel, where you can only have 4. So I do like that game a little bit, but I think there's some good Cleveland pieces in there as well. But probably more Minnesota, Memphis for me.
Was this was the last game Gobert played when he left the game because he had a child?
It is.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the narrative? Like, has he slept? He probably has some help. I imagine he's had some help. I don't know. Is he tired, or is this a baby narrative game? Which route are we playing here? Is he gonna have a big game, or is he gonna be just like getting a nap out there on the court just because he's been not getting any sleep? I don't know, but certainly all these Minnesota guys get a bump in the absence of Ant. Do you have a preference, Kyle, as far as which game you prefer amongst the two?
Yeah, I think I find myself building more around this Memphis-Minnesota game, but I think I like the Cleveland-Chicago one more, just because it's going to be, I think, a little bit more contrarian. I think all the the better value plays and a lot of the attention's flocking towards that Memphis-Minnesota game, with both of those key players out with Ant and Ja sideline for this game. So, I mean, it's kind of 50-50 for me. I think the projections are pulling me to that Memphis game, but game theory-wise, I'd like to have some exposure to these guys, because like Christy alluded to, there's some good low-owned plays in this game, because I think a lot of attention is going to that game. And then it's worth noting that the Cleveland game actually has the higher total of the two. So I think it's, pretty even split, but game theory-wise, the Chicago-Cleveland game is my favorite.
At Chicago, it's second fastest pace in the league. I think Cleveland's like 7 or 8 or so. They're playing pretty quick as well. Only the Cleveland lineup as far as starting lineup so far. I imagine we'll get the rest of them momentarily, typically a half an hour beforehand, or about 32 minutes until game time, tip off, whatever you want to call it. Obviously they don't necessarily tip off. It's not like baseball where they tell you first pitch is 7:07 on the East Coast, and 7:06 and 58 seconds, the ball is coming out of the pitcher's hand. But all right, let's do it. Anything else before we do the old position by position? I think we're ready to scoot along. We're good to go. Yes?
I think so. Yep.
All right, Christy, get us started. We're going to go on we'll go DraftKings first. We'll circle back anything different as far as FanDuel, and then we'll answer some questions in the chat. We still have 30 minutes, plenty of time. But DK specific, Christy, how do you feel about the point guards?
Yeah, so for point guard, I think, Darius Garland obviously looks really, really good. He gets a nice 10.7% usage boost with Mobley out. So that's obviously a good play. Bones Highland obviously looks very, very good. And again, with Edwards being out, both he and DiVincenzo look great. So I like both of those guys quite a bit. And I think I mentioned, I think some of the Chicago guys, I think we're going a little bit overlooked. So for tournaments, it'll be interesting to see where kind of Josh Giddey falls, guys like Lonzo Ball, Trey Jones and such. But I do, I want to make sure that I get some Cleveland exposure here. So, Garland, Donovan Mitchell, those guys, and then Bones Highland and Dante DiVincenzo are guys that I definitely want exposure to at the point guard position.
You're muted, Dean. It's an early strike. Early strike.
Bad job by me. Unbelievable. What are you going to do? I'm never going to recover from that one. I'm sure I'll do it again. My bad. Thank you for letting me know. I was making a fabulous point, I'm sure. So Bones Highland, 62% ownership. That's a big number for sure. We're again,
big number.
29. It's 2 game slate, 29 minutes. It seems like he's worked his way up in favor there in Minnesota. Well, that's your team, right, Christy? Aren't you a Minnesota fan?
It is. Yes, absolutely it is. Yep.
And it seems like he's kind of passed up Dillingham, right? He's kind of iced him to some degree. And I assume that's going to continue going forward. Good defensive player as well.
Yep.
And like Memphis is certainly a good team you want to pick on as well. So he makes sense if nothing else for cash games. Kyle, your thoughts as far as point guard on DK, and then feel free to pivot to shooting guard.
Yeah, I think point guard is one of the key positions on today's slate from like when you're going into the slate, kind of how you want to approach it. I think if you want to, play it like a more optimal standpoint, Bones Highland's going to be a guy that projects really well. He's going to be popular for a good reason. I mean, as long as he does start again, which it does seem like that would be a surprise if he doesn't, but worth at least making sure we confirm that. But if you wanted to get different, like Bones Highland is somebody that could be a little bit of a volatile play. There's plenty of guys around him to take up usage. Obviously, he's shown in the past he can get it done in an elite way on a permanent basis. Looks like I have him for like a 0.96 DK point per minute player. That's a really good rate for that guy. But in terms of looking to get different, you have a couple of guys who could steal minutes away from him off the bench. Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon, even Rob Dillingham. So that could be paths to maybe getting off of Bones Highland with guys on his own team. But Christy called out Trey Jones here, who I think he's one of my more interesting plays. I don't know if I'm going to get to him a ton in like single entry stuff, but in the large field stuff, Trey Jones is maybe one of my favorite tournament plays. We've had, the news of him being on a minutes limit of 24 per Coach Donovan. We didn't actually get anything specific today about that. And it's worth noting that, it's been a few days since we've seen this team play. Obviously, the NBA Cup stuff gives us a long layoff. So they haven't played since the 14th. I think there's a chance that maybe that minutes limit is gone or at least, raised here. So if he's going to project for 24 minutes across the industry, but actually come in and play 26, 27, 28 minutes, especially with no IO, I think that there's a good path to maybe Trey Jones being a good tournament player. Obviously, you can make a case for a guy like Darius Garland also projecting really well, especially if you're not playing Donovan Mitchell. And then Josh Giddey, if you're not playing Trey Jones, which Josh Giddey is typically going to be the higher upside play of a lot of these plays on the slate. So Giddey can certainly come in at lower ownership than guys like Julius Randle, Donovan Mitchell in terms of the spend ups on the slate and be a lower owned piece. So one of these Chicago guards, I'm certainly going to have in my lineup.
I made a rule. I didn't make a ton of lineups, but I made a rule. One of Mitchell or Garland. If I don't have Mitchell, I'm going to have Garland. I think you can play both as well, especially if you're a little bit of a game stack running it back with some Bulls. Kyle, give me some shooting guards. Or did you also? I know there's a lot of crossover. Did you? Yeah. You didn't talk about shooting guard just yet because you didn't talk about Williams. There's some, of course. Coward is another shooting guard that's specific on DK. Shooting guard only. Don't get the same positional versatility on DK like you get on FanDuel, but it's knockouts shooting guard on DK. Yeah,
we did just get the Timberwolves lineup. Highland is confirmed starting, so as expected there. Obviously here at this position you have Bones and Vince Williams, both at the same price, two of the best value plays on the board. Again, if you wanted to come into the slate saying I want to be different here, only playing one of these guys is probably going to be the way I'm going to approach it in my lineups where I'm looking to be contrarian. I do give this slight preference to Vince Williams. I think he has the higher minute ceiling and just the better rates across the board. I think Bones Highland will probably be the higher usage guy, but Vince Williams we could easily see rack up 9-10 assists. We've seen him do it multiple times already with no Ja Morant. So Vince Williams is the guy I give a slight edge to in the value department. Other guys at the position in terms of spend ups, I like Donovan Mitchell and Kobe White. And then you can make a case for a guy like KCP if you're looking to get different. Don't necessarily love him. I don't think he's a super high upside play. And then I guess the last couple names I'll throw out there. Already talked about Trey Jones, but Cedric Coward here. If you're not playing Vince Williams, you should definitely up your exposure to Cedric Coward. And then Jalen Tyson here at 6'2", kind of at the point where he's sort of priced up here. He's been playing really well, but with no Evan Mobley, he could still get it done even at that increased price tag.
Yeah, Tyson feels to me a little bit like a spend up a little bit to be different, but I think he's actually kind of good. So,
Yeah,
and I like the opponent here against Chicago as well. And the other thing about Williams versus Highland, you're kind of talking about it, and I think that's, the minutes are so much more secure for Williams, just because there's just nobody that can handle the ball for Memphis. He kind of sort of has to be out there, and they just have 10 guys. They have Jemai Mashak might get some run. I assume we're projecting him for some.
Yeah.
I don't think you're playing him. Were you on projections tonight, Kyle? Were you multitasking?
I was off today, but I did, my own run of projections, and I had Williams with a median of 30, which I think was 1 minute higher than what our team had him at. But I think he's got a ceiling to play even more. I think Cam Spencer being out is going a little bit under the radar in terms of what he can do minutes wise. The reason why he's taper off is because Cam Spencer has been amazing the past couple of weeks, and you have Mashak, who's been in and out of the G League so far this season. I don't think that they're going to be dying to give him minutes. So if this game stays close, I wouldn't be surprised to see Vince Williams play even like 32 plus minutes. So Williams is the guy I think is projecting well and has a chance to even play better than what he's projecting minutes wise.
He's in every lineup I made. I didn't make a lot of lineups. Is he good chalk at 65%, 4.9 on DK? I think he's good chalk.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would prefer, if I'm playing one of the chalky value guys, I would prefer him over Bones Highland.
Christy, shooting guard, feel free to add on whatever Kyle said or tell him he's wrong and make a disagreement. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree. I do think he is one of those core plays tonight. And I think he is good chalk. I think, like you guys mentioned, I think Bones Highland really is the guy that has, a wider range of outcomes. And so I think Williams, I'm just kind of eating the chalk there. And he's kind of a core play and tagged, as you can kind of see on lineup HQ as well. So I like that. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell is just such a great play too. So, I think both of those are kind of core plays that were tagged here for DraftKings, and definitely agree there. Bones Highland, I think that's kind of the point. If you want to play him in GPPs, he's obviously in the starting lineup. We've seen him come in and not do well and not get minutes, but he had a nice outing in his last start with Anthony Edwards out. So I do like him quite a bit there. I like you guys talking about, Jalen Tyson a little bit. And he is expensive, and I think that will keep his ownership down, but he's in the starting lineup. And so I think spending up a little bit to be different there is good, because I do think he is a good player. So that's one guy that I kind of had marked down as someone that I think makes a good GPP play. I think if you're just looking for some other options, I don't have any currently in any lineups, but you've got KCP. If you're just looking for some cheap value there, Kobe White, he's been kind of capped around that 30-minute range, but he also has great usage, 32% usage. So again, I think getting some of those Bulls pieces will get you a little bit more unique, just because some of these other guys are carrying quite a bit more ownership. So yeah, definitely agree on the Williams and Mitchell, and think they're both really good core pieces tonight.
Can you jump over to small forward on DK for us, which is, it's a lot of the same players. So Williams for sure, Tyson as well. Yeah. Small forward on DK. What do you got? Anyone you want to add to the conversation? Revenge game that the chat's telling us. Isaac Okoro revenge. He's very vengeful, very angry at Chicago. I don't know what his history is with Chicago, to be honest. I know he was there, but I couldn't tell you how he left. It was ugly or not. But what do you got for me as far as small forward?
Yep. Again, you can play Vince Williams here. I do think Jade McDaniels is going to look really good too, really on both sides. I know we're talking just about DK here, but I think he's a really good play. I don't have as much interest on Hunter. I know he's not in the starting lineup, so not getting to him in single entry. Again, I do like getting to Tyson a little bit more. And then, Jalen Wells, I think, is a fine GPP option. He seems to get, decent amount of minutes. I'm not sure about his upside, but at the same time, again, on a 2-game slate, I think he's a fine option, and somebody that you should have in your pool. But yeah, I would say Vince Williams, obviously, and then I do like Jaden McDaniels. I like those Timberwolves players quite a bit tonight.
Cal, give me all the forwards on DK. Start with small and go to power.
Yeah, worth noting that it looks like Vince Williams is not going to be starting tonight. And Brandon Clark is potentially getting the start here. Not confirmed yet, but seeing some
interesting.
Yeah, that would be
play Brandon Clark. We haven't seen him play all season long. He had the ACL, the PCL, all the CLs.
Yeah.
He's not running point either, obviously.
No, it looks like they're going with the big lineup with Coward at point, and then Triple J, Aldama, and Clark all in, maybe trying to match up with Brandon and Gobert there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, which, I mean, I don't think that, I mean, it's not ideal for Vince Williams. I would probably switch my take and think that Highland's the better value play there now. But I think at the end of the day, Williams, his ceiling of minutes is probably not as high as I was originally thinking, but I still think he's likely going to play 26 to 28 plus minutes here. I don't see Clark playing any more than like 18 minutes at most. And even that feels like a lot.
Yeah, question, by the way, if Memphis loses by like 30 or so, like whatever, they're getting shellacked. Is Vince Williams mopping, or I guess Jemai Mason? Who are the 5 guys that mop? Because they only have 10, so it's not going to be. You can sort of work backwards, I guess, right, Kyle? But it's not going to be Triple J. It's not going to be Aldama. Probably not KCP as a vet. I don't know. Who would be the 5 guys that are mopping out there?
Yeah, it'd probably be Meshack. You probably see Prosper out there.
Yeah.
Maybe they give Landale some cleanup duty minutes. But yeah, I don't know. They probably Vince Williams would probably play in mop-up duty. Honestly, I think that's
what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
and
just
Clark,
because
they're not going to push him, right? I wouldn't think they would push Clark too hard.
No, and I think with Conchar being out, that's another big piece. I would say if I had to guess the 5, it would be Meshack, Prosper, Vince Williams, Landale maybe, and then maybe Jalen Wells, or maybe they just play Wells and Coward and don't play Landale, and they can just play some small ball with if Minnesota's not having anybody big out there to mop up. But yeah, Vince Williams probably feels decent to close in a blowout.
Yeah, you got to match up with Joe Ingles on the other side. Maybe they dust off Dingle and Joe. He talks all that spec, and he never gets any chance to play. Did you hit power forward? I'm sorry if you did, Kyle. Did I cut you off?
No, not yet. So I don't think I touched on small forward yet either. I think for me, I'm still gonna like Vince Williams. I like McDaniels quite a bit, especially if you're not playing Julius Randle. Obviously, we already talked about Jalen Tyson, and then for power forward, Aldama and Randle are my favorite plays. I liked Brandon Clark a ton before he was going to start. I think now we're probably going to see him get some popularity, which feels a little gross because now I feel like before he's a 3K guy who's a good permanent player that nobody wanted to play because we didn't really know what to expect, but now he's probably going to be popular. And if he starts but only plays like 14 minutes, you could easily bust there at that 3K. So it's going to come down to ownership for me on Brandon Clark at power forward.
Do I have to multitask and put some Clark in my lineups? Am I going to be okay not having Clark? I didn't put him in there because I wasn't sure if he was going to play. All right. We'll figure it out here on the fly. All right. You talk about power forwards as well. I'm curious what our minute projection is going to change. And by the way, I have not seen the lineup, but did it just come out here for Memphis? It is.
It did.
Yeah, Triple J, Clark, Aldama, Coward. Yeah, they're going big here against Minnesota. Wells, Coward. Just because Clark's starting. I mean, chat's saying last time this happened, he played 21 minutes. That was last year, right? I think am I right in saying he'd be like maybe 5 games last year? He's had a ton of injuries over the last several years. Once upon a time, he was a decent fantasy point minute player, but we just have not seen a ton of him. Memphis just always ravaged with injuries. No exception here for Brandon Clark. Christy, what are you doing with Clark? Are you working him in lineups? Did you already have him in lineups?
I didn't actually. I think over on DK, yeah, and I mean he's cheap over on FanDuel too. And I'm just trying to think through this. I think, he's going to be limited, so I think it comes down to ownership, like Kyle said. If he's going to be extremely popular, maybe look into fade. But he also, again, is just so cheap that I think having exposure, I think, is good. It really opens up your lineup.
Looks like we're getting 18 minutes. That's the projection.
What do we have? 18?
18, yeah. Unless I think that's the newest iteration. I believe it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's as of 2 minutes ago.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
16 fantasy points per minute on DK, but that could be useful, and he can get 20. He can get 22.
That's just it.
On this slate, I think that could be useful to pay. I just swapped them in for one lineup, so we'll see how that goes down. Christy, power forwards on DraftKings, and then knock out the centers. We'll circle back, hit FanDuel quickly, and then, of course, we'll get the questions in chat. Questions in Discord are prioritized. RotoGrinders.com/Discord channel. RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. And then afterwards, I'll circle back and check out the YouTube. We got 15 minutes until lock, plenty of time. But yeah, power forwards, Christy, for DK, and then centers. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so for power forward, Aldama is going to look really good. He's in the starting lineup now. He's been very productive too this year without Edie in the lineup, so I like him quite a bit. Julius Randle is a guy that I'm getting a decent amount of exposure to. Again, going back to that Timberwolves game with no Edwards. So I do like him. We obviously talked about Brandon Clark, which you can play here or you can play at center. It'll be interesting to see kind of where Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in, because we finally did see a big ceiling game, which we've been waiting for a long time. So the potential is there to have a really nice game, but I do think his ownership, what do we have him projected for? We've got him right around, 25%?
He projects much better on FanDuel. We'll talk about that, but he's like 7 over there.
Yes, he does.
Shot him right back up. One good game.
Yep.
But go ahead. I didn't mean to slow you down. Keep going.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, I think he's interesting. Naz Reid too. He's a guy that I always want to get exposure to in tournaments, just because he does have a high ceiling, and I just feel better too about his minutes now. With Edwards out, should get a few more minutes there. So I think he's a good play. He's priced up too, so I think that's gonna, his ownership won't be as high over on DraftKings. He is a little bit cheaper over on FanDuel, so I do like him for tournaments. Yeah, I think those are the guys that I'm kind of targeting the most. I do like Randall as a really good spend up option tonight, and I think with the value with Clark there, you can quite comfortably get both in there.
Kyle, just knockout centers, but also looks like we're giving 27 minutes to Williams here for Memphis, so a slight hit on his minutes. 4-1 on FanDuel. I think he's still like somebody you just definitely play on FanDuel, but he's 4-9. Yeah, 4-9 on DK, which is still pretty good. Yeah. How much of a hit does he take for you on DK? And I think, Kyle, I think you just still play him on FanDuel at 4-1. That's still too good.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a case and say that like the hit that he's taking from a minutes perspective is maybe even being offset by a little bit more usage, not playing alongside Triple J and even Aldama as much. So maybe like there's a little bit of an offset there, but the minute ceiling is certainly going to take a hit. That's the main thing for me. Yeah, at 4-1 on FanDuel, he's certainly still going to be projecting as like an optimal play. At 27 minutes, so we had him at 29 minutes and he was projecting really well, down to 27 minutes. Again, I think you can make a case that from a median perspective, his projection doesn't change all that much, maybe a minute or two, which is where we reflected that. But yeah, so I still like Vince Williams quite a bit. I think the safety of it is not as much of a sure thing now. He's probably closer to Bones Highland, and the ceiling is not as great for Williams. But yeah, at that 4-1 price on FanDuel, still a very strong play.
I ran some optimals on FanDuel, added some variance, and I capped it at 70%. And Williams, McDaniels, Mitchell, Coward, Garland all hitting that threshold. Man. Yeah, and Triple J not too far behind at just 7K. Kyle, just did you give your final thoughts as far as center on DK before you pivot to FanDuel?
Yeah, for center, I think Gobert and Jared Allen are both similar plays that I think are, from an ownership perspective, maybe getting a bit overlooked on the small slate. I mean, they're still going to project for 25 plus ownership, but I think on the small slate they're probably going to go a bit overlooked, especially now with Brandon Clark likely getting a good amount of ownership at that 3K price tag. So both those guys are interesting. I do like Aldama. Brandon Clark's going to be the main issue for me to decide now, because I liked him at like 1% or like a single digit ownership, and now I get a little bit more of a queasy feeling on him if he's going to be popular. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic, because I liked him a lot as like my tournament play to get different. at that price tag, and now he's going to probably be safer minutes wise, but likely come in at a very significant ownership number. So we'll see where that comes in for Brandon Clark. That's going to be the key for me.
Trying to find something as far as minutes expectation. Nobody asked the coach that. If they did, I missed it. But yeah, obviously you have to assume there's some sort of minutes limit first game of the season. Okay, let's give the people your slate breakers before we knock out FanDuel quickly. And again, load up your questions in the Discord channel. I'll circle back on YouTube if you're not in the Discord. Christy, who's breaking the slate tonight?
A guy that I really like tonight, and we've seen a ceiling in some of these games. I like DiVincenzo from Minnesota, and I think he's going to go a little bit overlooked just because of his price tag. So that's a guy that I really like quite a bit tonight.
I love that call. He's 6'7" on DK, which is another kind of seems a little bit too pricey for him. I think he's 6'1" on FanDuel, which is actually pretty good. But that was the person I was going to say, so I'm going to have to adjust.
Good.
Giddy. I'm going to go to Kyle. Kyle, who's breaking the slate?
I like Giddy quite a bit for like an off the wall cheaper type play. I'm still going to stick with Trey Jones. I like him quite a bit.
All right. Let's knock out FanDuel quickly. Anything distinctly different, Kyle, on FanDuel? I did kind of sort of reference Triple J is much cheaper over there when you consider the salary difference versus DK. DiVincenzo is 6'3" as opposed to 6'7". Whenever anybody's cheaper on FanDuel, they're generally a value, or at least obviously a better play if nothing else than DK. But we don't have to go through everything. Just anything you see distinctly different or worth pointing out, Kyle. Point guards on FanDuel.
I think the main thing is the Williams price at 4-1. I think he's still the best value play on the board there. For the most part, though, everything else is pretty much in lockstep. I think maybe Trey Jones is less of an option here because you have a couple of guys who are just a little bit cheaper, and then DiVincenzo is just a little bit more expensive, but he's still that pivot play off of Highland if you're looking to get a little bit different there. But overall, my interest in Highland is now a little bit greater with the downgrade for Vince Williams.
Christy, point guard and shooting guard, FanDuel, anything worth pointing out?
Yeah, I think, like you guys have mentioned, obviously Williams, I think, still is a good play at 4-1, still too cheap. And like you said, if he's kind of in at the end of the game, I like that. Highland and of course DiVincenzo. I'm hoping he comes in a little bit lower owned than expected, but he's always one of my favorite GPP plays. So yeah, and again, throw Giddy in there too. Again, I just see him not being played as much too, just because of all the Cleveland and the Minnesota and Vince Williams being so cheap.
Kyle, shooting guard, small forward.
Not seeing too much that differs from what we talked about on the DraftKings side. I guess the main difference would be I think I like a little bit more of Jalen Tyson on FanDuel compared to DraftKings, but for the most part, still the same for me.
All the forwards, Christy, small forward, power forward, anything that's worth pointing out in FanDuel, differences for the forwards.
Yep, I think the Tyson call is a great one. That's just 6,300 over on FanDuel. He's kind of just at that interesting price point. Similar, McDaniels is $300 more. So I just think Tyson is a great tournament play. Like that call quite a bit. Howard, I think, is a great play. Someone that I want to get a lot of exposure to. Gets a lot of good minutes. McDaniels, already mentioned him. But yeah, I like Tyson in there quite a bit.
All right, Kyle, close it out. Power forwards on FanDuel and centers.
You can play Jarrett Allen at power forward on FanDuel, which I think makes him a bit more viable. Also pretty cheap over there, so he's a top play for me on the board. Brandon Clark's 3.9 here, so I think maybe you could make the case for the Brandon Clark fade a bit more on FanDuel compared to DraftKings, where he's just really cheap. And you have Dean Wade here, who's certainly not a sexy play. He's not going to really be a good permanent producer, but he's only $100 more than Brandon Clark. So if you're looking for a direct pivot, he could be an option there. They could easily have similar production just because of the fact that Clark's probably going to play a few less minutes, but be slightly better in those minutes. But Dean Wade, could be a potential pivot there. And then Triple J feels pretty cheap here at 7K.
Yeah, I like that call. Chris, do you see anything on FanDuel as far as centers that's worth mentioning?
Yeah, centers, I'll just mention again, I think Gobert is going to go overlooked, especially now with Brandon Clark coming in as a center only over on FanDuel. So I think, he'll get squeezed a little bit. So I certainly don't mind that. I do like Jaren Jackson. You can play him either at power forward, at center. I do think he has a great play over on FanDuel. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Questions in the Discord. This is for Kyle. Achilles says, FanDuel Cash. Pick 2 of these 3 for FanDuel Cash. You got Aldama, Allen, Gobert. Pick 2 of those 3.
I'll go Aldama and Allen.
Christy, Casey Douglas is asking, this is for DK tournaments, utility. Any player you like, favorite player, 3,600 or less. 3,600 or less in the utility spots. Who is our favorite cheapie at 3.6K on DK or less?
I mean, I'm probably going Clark. I know that's probably a popular one, but I mean, just at min price, I think he's someone that you have to have in there. Don't know if that was in their pool or not, but yeah.
Kyle, question for you. Alexander the Don, 5,700 left at utility as well. Cash game utility, 5.7 on DK. Is it Buzelis? Is it Wells? Is it somebody secret option C? Who's your favorite play? 5,700 or less a utility spot for cash on DK.
I'll go with Wells there. I think maybe you can make a case for. It looks like he's going to run point, so I'll go with Wells there.
Christy Peterman's asking Yahoo single entry small. So this is the same scoring system as FanDuel. So basically, there's nothing to do with salary. Jared Allen or Jaden McDaniels, who's going to score more FanDuel Yahoo points?
Ooh, I like both of those. I think I'm going Allen. I like Allen there.
Kyle, Discord channel. This is from ROBG DK single entry tournament. Coward or Gobert? Who do you prefer amongst those 2? I guess that's a utility spot.
I'll go Gobert.
Christy D-Rock, DK tournaments, 3 max. Would you rather have 2 Aldama and no Reed, or 1 of each? Wait a second. 2 Aldama and no Reed, or 1 of each? Does that question make sense? I'm just reading it.
Not sure.
Yeah.
I like both. Yeah.
I guess is sort of the question.
How would I prioritize those?
I guess, do you think Aldama is distinctly better than Naz Reid? I think that's basically what's being asked here.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I just think, Reed is probably, he's more volatile, more, different wide range of outcomes there, but I'd want exposure to Reed tonight.
Kyle, this is a fun one. DK tournaments, Wade or KCP? Which low usage player do you prefer amongst those 2?
I'll go with Dean Wade, I suppose.
Falcons fan, Kyle and Christy, the GOATs. Christy, this is for you. DK tournaments, Garland, or DiVincenzo?
Garland and who? Garland?
Or DiVincenzo, your play of the nights.
Yeah, exactly. I got to go with DiVincenzo, I think.
Kyle, this is a 3v3 for DK Cash. 3v3 DK Cash. Mitchell, KCP, McDaniels, Giddey, Allen, Williams.
I'll take the Giddey side.
All right. I see questions popping up over there on the YouTube. Hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Just a heads up, by the way, if you're playing football this week, Pick 6 show, I'll be hosting it. Starts in, well, in theory, 3 minutes, but probably more like 10 minutes on this channel. We'll be closing this down and firing it up with Rebar and Daigle soon enough. Let's see. Terry in chat. This is for Christy. Allen or Gobert on tournaments? Who do you prefer amongst those 2 at center?
You know what? For tournaments, I think I'm going Gobert just because I don't think he's going to carry much ownership tonight.
So, Kyle, I kind of mentioned it in passing, but as another potential cheapie, several people have asked about it. Ricky Rose, Okoro, he's starting tonight. Not the greatest usage player, but, good defensive guy. How do we feel about Okoro? Is he worth – I actually have him in a lineup or 2. I don't feel great about it. He just kind of made stuff work pre-show. But, how do you feel about Isaac Okoro versus his old team?
I don't love it. I mean, again, low usage guy, pretty similar play style to guys like Wade and KCP. I know he's cheaper than both of those guys, but probably not expecting too much production out of him. And I'm also not too sure about his minutes either. So probably going to pass on Okoro.
Christy, who's the player that you don't have enough of? You're afraid you don't have. Who's going to beat you that you don't have? It just didn't work out for whatever reason as far as your lineups.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'm probably a little bit short on Aldama tonight than I would like to be.
Same question for you, Kyle. Who's the one player that's for whatever reason did not land on enough of your lineups that you think might beat you?
Yeah, Aldama is a good one. I would say maybe even Bones Highland, just because I'm taking a stand on Trey Jones. So just naturally, which I don't feel good about it. But again, it's a 2-game slate and looking to get a little bit different. So that's the path that I'm taking.
Kyle, Ricky Rose wants thoughts on Thomas Bryant. We're projecting 14 minutes. I'm not getting there. Thomas Bryant. There's only 11 bodies for Cleveland. Is that right? Yeah, 11. He's going to get some backup 5. Any interest in Thomas Bryant?
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably play 12 minutes or so, give or take. But I'd probably rather play Zach Collins at the same price on DraftKings. So I'll say pass on Bryant. And if you're looking for that type of play, I prefer Collins.
I was going to say the same exact thing. In that game, I would prefer Collins. We've seen some weird stuff with Vuk. Not too long ago, he got benched in the fourth quarter, and they were playing with Smith and Collins. I think eventually, finally, we're going to see Vuk get traded. I think probably 4 years too late. I think that's going to happen. We'll see. Stay tuned on that. But Kyle is like Isaac Okur. No, yeah. Well, we do live in the world of the salary cap. I have some. I'm not happy about it. That's the show. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. We're running this back. Well, tomorrow, normal time, 5 o'clock. It's a big boy slate. It's a 12-gamer. And then Friday, I think it's the 3 of us once again on Friday. I assume it's a baby slate to some degree because there's 12 games going down on Thursday. But do appreciate y'all watching. Hit that like button the way out. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. That was Kyle. That was Christy. That was producer Steve. You didn't see him, but I promise you, he's the reason why we're on. I was Dean. We're out of here. Oh.